Hi, this is Rob Sheen with the Source Conference, and I'm here with Deidre Diamond, who is the founder and CEO of CyberSN and BraveBabe.org. And she's going to be speaking at Source Boston on May 9th and 10th. And she's doing a workshop called Hack Your EQ for Career Advancement. So that sounds like an awesome topic. So, Deidre, first of all, thanks for joining us. And tell us
You're
a little bit about
welcome. It's good to be here.
tell us a little bit about your talk.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So my talk is born of having data about why cybersecurity professionals are leaving their jobs. I run and operate the largest cybersecurity staffing firm, and so of course I have lots of data about what's happening. And the number one thing we hear is it's a problem with the culture or the people. We don't hear technology, we don't hear money, we don't hear commute. It's very rare that we hear those things, and 90% of the time we're hearing that there's a problem with the culture. And the culture is all of us. The culture is the individual as much as it is the company. And the bottom line is we don't have enough EQ training, emotional intelligence training, soft skills training to allow individuals to feel empowered in a work culture. And so I want to do that. And I do that. This talk is one of those to help.
Awesome. So what you're saying is basically the reason why people are switching jobs so often is because of the poor culture at the company. That's like what they're.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And let's talk about how that shows up, right? Because it's such a general statement, poor culture. Well, it's number one thing that we hear is the job isn't what I was told it was. Well, that's a cultural problem, meaning not understanding your vision, not understanding your mission, not having it thought out, not having it so planned out that the job, task, and responsibilities given down to any one human is understood. So you go through the interviewing process, and then the next thing you know, you're working at the company, and the job isn't what it was told you to be. So that is a cultural problem. Unfortunately, it's wrapped under a very generic term, but that is almost what we hear, I would say 70% of the time when it comes to culture, is that the job isn't what I was told it's going to be. And then the other 30% is just the people. The people they're not kind, they're not having fun, they're not happy. This place is not, a good place to work from the perspective of feeling good every day.
Got it. So what is EQ and how can that help?
So EQ is emotional intelligence. It's a part of our brains that can be constantly nurtured and you can grow. Unlike emotional intelligence and IQ, where we're sort of born with what we can cultivate up into adulthood. EQ you can keep advancing. So the number one thing to know about EQ is that it's your soft skills. I break it down to 12 skills that I'm going to be teaching in this class and in this workshop, and how those skills show up in the workforce. But it's everything from, as simple as we know it from keeping a calendar and time management stuff that most of us have been trained on a little bit, to the more complex stuff that we're really not being trained on, which is, empathy in the workforce and trust in the workforce, or presentations in the workforce, things that get to be a lot more complicated than, let's say, running a calendar. However, there are 12 of them. It is our emotional intelligence of how we relate with the others, how we work on teams, how we manage up, how we manage down, how we manage sideways, how do we manage our relationships at work.
Got it. So is that the kind of thing that you would basically instill in an existing team? So you basically run the entire team through a program, or is it the kind of thing that you might give to somebody as they're coming into a job in the first place?
It's anytime, anywhere. I prefer to focus on individuals because each individual can impact their own, world pretty significantly. So everything that I'm teaching can be implemented as an individual in what they're doing every day, and can also be, implemented as a team lead, skill set. So it's really about empowering the individual, because so much of what happens in the workplace is fear to speak our minds, fear to ask questions, fear to engage on a topic that seems emotionally charged in the workforce. And so what most people do is they just don't engage. Mm-hmm. And that then makes them, as an individual, they're giving up their power to own their own career. And that's why I call this like hack your own career. Take charge of your own career. Be the better communicator. Don't wait for your manager to own having a great communication relationship. Own it yourself. And that's really, I feel like empowering each individual will make a difference pretty fast. That being said, I do team trainings and things for sure.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, fear is definitely a powerful motivator for sure with a lot of things. I mean, at a fundamental, physiology, the way our brains work is, that fear voice is basically one of the lowest level functions you got. So fight, flight, or freeze is what they say, right? So how can something like an EQ workshop or test help people learn to get past those fears?
Well, one of the biggest problems is that since we don't talk about these skills, they're not, let's say, on the forefront of our consciousness, or, we have to, when we're in the situation where we need them, we're not prepared because we're just not even talking about these skills. And we're not talking about how they show up. We're not talking about what happens in a meeting when somebody says, the word obviously, just all of these things. So, I mean, as simple as that is, we get much deeper than that. I think first and foremost is that we're not going to be good at handling situations at work unless we're practicing, unless we're thinking about them. And so the number one thing that this talk does is it wakes up our conscious mind, and it gets our conscious mind thinking about the importance of language, the importance of social styles, understanding other human social styles. There are 4 social styles that, have been discovered, and we all believe in them and know them. I certainly do. And to just getting another human to recognize that there's social styles, and here's the 4 different social styles. And that means if you want to get a message across to somebody else, you have to be considering their social style. You have to be considering your language. You have to be really conscious, right? So the number one thing that's going to happen is we're going to get everybody conscious. We're certainly going to give people some really cool tools to take back to the workforce. And then a way to continue to participate in that training is, really about engaging these core social styles. And so I think people will have a lot of after effects as well. But so we gotta just be thinking about it. We gotta be talking about it, like we do all of our technology and hard skills stuff, but we're constantly, getting tons of training on over and over and over. And then we get to go practice it in the office. And, we need to do the same thing with soft skills and EQ. Right.
It's that actually led to, I have a couple extra thoughts on that. So on the social styles thing, that when you said that, it kind of reminds me of Myers-Briggs, in that you kind of understand, your personality type, you understand how, some ways that you can interact with other personality types. And some people kind of dismiss that and say, well, there's only 16 types. How can that sum up everybody? But it really is a fantastic tool for kind of uncovering, how you approach things. So how is the social styles kind of analogous to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's really only 4. You're a driver, you're a driver, you're an expressor, you're an analytic, or you're what do you call it? Somebody that, I forget the term, where you pacify, right? There's a better term for it. So there's really those 4, and it's really not about saying, oh, you're this way, so you're not as good, or you're bad, or no, it's about saying, okay, there's 4 styles. What am I, so that I know what I'm like? And then whoever I want to engage, what are they? What's their social style? There's actually a formula where you can just say, oh, well, depending on how they talk with this or that way, you can figure it out pretty quickly. But the reality is that if people, as humans, if we all don't start thinking about what we're saying every day, and saying isn't just verbal, it's email, it's body language, we're just going to continue to have this churn. We have a major employment churn, like major. Because it's bad. It's really, really bad. And every time I think, oh, an organization's got it. They figured it out. This one is going to go great, and inevitably it never lasts longer than a year and a half. And I'm just tired of it. It breaks my soul, honestly, because all these people then have to go deal with job searching, which we all know is broken and an awful experience. And, and then it's like, what a waste of time, on this planet. Like, we all have such little time, and our work environments are just constant breakups. Like constant, oh, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to work with you a year ago, but now I don't, or 6 months ago or 4 months ago, whatever. We're seeing it in time frames that are just ridiculous.
Right. So, yeah, no, that's definitely a problem. And I'm always shocked, even like at the highest levels, like CISOs flip over between 12 and 18 months. It's like, I don't even know how you can organizationally get anything done in that time on the scales that they're talking about. And they're already out the door before they even really started, So something else you triggered thought on was, you mentioned how we spent all this time doing technical trainings and not so much time doing people and process stuff. And I definitely appreciate that. That's why we've added so much of the people related stuff to the Source conference, specifically for that reason, because I didn't see that anybody else was really doing it the way I would want it to be done. So I just said, all right, we're just going to do this. So in general, though, I've found that people that are more technical tend to lean more towards the technical trainings and stray kind of far away sometimes from more of the people soft skill related stuff. How would you kind of address that and kind of shift that? Because I personally believe that if you're a person, you kind of need people in soft skills trainings, period. That's kind of my philosophy. But like, what's yours on that? Like, what's your take?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gone are the days where, technologists don't have to interact with other humans at a great capacity. We are now a service, economy. It's all about working in teams. The soft skills are more important now than ever. And studies are showing they're more important than IQ, meaning Google did a test with Harvard recently and looked at IQ and EQ over their organization, thinking that their top performers would have this high IQ and a high EQ. And the reality, that was what their hypothesis was. The reality was they had average to lower IQ than others in the org and off the charts EQ, like off the charts EQ. So it's not something that anybody can say they don't need anymore. I think the real challenge for introverts is how we approach the topic or what kind of training. Like, introverts aren't going to want to go to Tony Robinson and, have this this purging of all their fears, right? No, they are analytical people. They want the answers. And so I think it's just a matter, and this is why I've always gravitated towards you, Rob, is just getting the consistent training in a way that they can get their hands on it. And that's what you and I were out there doing. We need more, right? We need conferences that are only soft skills, as far as I'm concerned. I want to do it. I just haven't had a chance. So I think it's a matter of having the right kind of training for our technical introverts that don't put them on the spot and they have to stand up in front of the classroom and share their feelings. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm really talking about some core, an analytic can be like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, I can do that. It's not about their feelings and coming to terms with them.
So is there any kind of an analytical component to the EQ thing that you're going to be doing in the workshop?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to use real life office situations. So to me, that's analytical. These are factual, we're in a meeting and this happens. But other than that, it's if people want to take the social style test, you and we've got to figure that out, but I'd like to get that people have access to that so you can see the 4 different social styles. And I think that really brings some cool analytics into it. And so we'll review it and we'll share the test. It's really simple with everybody and give people links hopefully to it too. I'm trying to do that now, but I think, it's certainly not math, but it's common sense.
Got it. Cool. Well, this sounds like an awesome talk, and we're definitely going to be looking forward to continuing this conversation at Source. And if anybody wants to continue this conversation or check out the workshop, definitely come to Source Boston on May 9th and 10th, and we'll see you there.
Awesome. See you there.
Awesome. Thanks, Deidre.
You're welcome. Thank you.